So, mammals as remedies. The first thing that we have to realize, of course, is that mammals are animals. And therefore, if we're looking at taking a case in a sensation sort of way, where we try to go down through the levels to the level of source, level 5, or the level of sensation, then we'll expect our patient to speak in a different way if they were to require a plant, a mineral, or an animal. Because for me, when you do the sensation case taking, what you're looking for is when actually the remedy is speaking to you. That's the strange, rare, and peculiar thing. It's strange, rare, and peculiar because it's not a human at the moment expressing itself. It's the remedy state within the human, which of course comes from, to make it simply, either plant, animal, or mineral. And so I'm sure most of you know this, the essence of the animal kingdom is eat or be eaten. I don't know if there's any animal actually that isn't either eat other animals or be eaten by other animals. Even baby elephants will get eaten by lions. So what we're looking for is animal language, me versus you. And you'll see that in the mammals, you'll get that very, very strongly, just the same as you would do in the spiders or the insects. And so it's as if the patient perceives their disease as something that's out to get them. And they might, if they had a headache, they might say something like, there's something inside there that is getting at me. I wish I could just cut my head off and get rid of it. It's as if they personify their ailment into a me versus you situation. They might also use things like there's a ripping or a tearing inside, and they might use gestures like claws or teeth or whatever it's going to be. So they will talk about their ailment like that, and that's one of the clearest ways to find out what kingdom you're in. But generally, your animal patient will tend to see as their problems being caused by exterior things. Okay, the plant is sensitive to the world and therefore is affected and upset. The mineral isn't capable of doing things and therefore they get ill. They're lacking in electrons. But for the animal, it's a me versus you thing. So we're going to see that strongly in some of the cases. Now, okay, it's an animal. Here we're looking at mammals. We're looking at milks, but some of the mammal remedies aren't made from milk. For instance, tiger is made from urine, and there's obviously good reasons for that. I don't know who's going to be the person who's going to go and milk the tiger. But it would seem that on the whole, whatever part of the mammal you take the remedy from, the way they speak and the essence is pretty similar. So we have to ask ourselves, what are the things that make mammals strange, rare, and peculiar? What makes them different to the other animals? And one thing is fur. Now we know about fur. Anyone who's got a dog or a cat or sees a fluffy baby cheetah, we know that fur is like, ooh, it's soft and smooth and warm, and you just want to cuddle this soft, fluffy thing. And so that's part of the sensation. So fur gives warmth and smoothness and fluffiness and softness and coziness and duvets and things like this. Okay, because insects, snakes, sea creatures don't have fur. The bird might be similar with its layer of feathers. And the thing that really makes the mammal difference is their mammae. In other words, the milk-producing glands, breasts, mammary glands, whatever you're going to call them, depending on what species it comes from. And here is a very sure way to spot your mammal patient. Because what is milk? Well, when you get into the deep sensation of milk, milk is Okay, it's you're held in mummy's arms, or you're snuggled up against the glands of the cat with the fur around you, and you're sucking this lovely, warm, perfect nutrition. And so you feel full and satisfied, and your tummy is full and it's warm. And so when you put the fur and the milk together, the sensation we're really looking to find in our mammal patients is sort of like a cozy, warm cushions, freshly baked cakes, comfy, soft, mummy, warm. And of course, held and protected. You have these tiny little babies, and they've got the mummy there who is not giving warmth, but is giving protection as well. And so that may be how our patient expresses themselves. And the sort of hobbies they might want to do will give them that feeling of warmth and fullness and completeness inside. And that feeling of full and warm and held and protected and cozy is analogous to love. Unconditional love. Probably Hitler's mummy would still have loved Hitler, okay? Would have still have loved Adolf, because that's what mummies do. And therefore, that's what we should all get. Naturally, every single one of us should receive that as children, and every animal should receive that when they're born. Unfortunately, a lot of our patients, human or animal, are going to present with the opposite, which is cold and empty. And they have a feeling of emptiness in their abdomen, and there's like a cold vacuum in there. And that is totally and absolutely wrong. That is the fundamental first mistake that could possibly happen when a mammal is not unconditionally loved and full of warm milk. And throughout their lives, these patients, animal or human, will feel within them this empty coldness. And so if you have an empty coldness within you, then you're going to want to fill it. And so you can fill it by seeking love everywhere you go. So promiscuity, looking for love, but in fact only finding sex. You can suck that cigarette as hard as you like and drag it right deep down inside you, but it's not going to fill that gap. Neither is all the cakes. Neither is everything else that you stuff in your body to try to fill that emptiness. And you can see why these are going to be remedies of sexual problems. Going beyond that, they're also big-time remedies for infertility, and they're remedies for addiction, they're remedies for obesity, they're remedies for attention-seeking, for clinging, all these sort of things. Mammals have another side to them as well, and that is fact they have the family, and the family is a further safe place where you should be looked after. So they have the family, they have the pack, they have the herd, they have the pod if you're a whale. This is a thing that mammals do. And so within this group, there is safety and security. But the trouble with being in the group is the fact that if you're in the group, you're expected to behave according to the rules, the instincts of the group. And therefore, obviously, I'm sure you all understand this, know this already. The issue is a lack of identity. And the question is, do I stay in the group and yet not be myself? Or do I take that risk of leaving the group and being myself and yet losing that sense of security. It's interesting, the herd animals, I've experienced this in the veterinary world, in cattle particularly, they sacrifice their identity for security. And you can actually take the case of a whole herd of cows by taking the case of the disease that is going on in the herd, but the state of the farmer. And you can give that to 150 cows and you'll see amazing things happen on the farm because they've sacrificed their own identities for security. Other things that mammals do. Well, they're fantastically good at communicating. Maybe this is our prejudice because we're mammals and so we can understand. But people sometimes say, how do you be a homeopath how can you be a homeopathic vet? They don't talk to you. But of course they do, because the movement of the tail like that, down like that, the eyes, the whole, they communicate in a way that we can understand very, very clearly. So communication is another big side to things. When you think of the mothering and you think of the communication, and you think of the identity, you can see maybe potential confusion here between our mammal patients and our row 3 periodic table patients. Okay, with the muriaticum over there being the mother of the periodic table. The other thing that mammals have is they have a hierarchy. They have who's leader of the pack. Okay. So in essence, that's a sensation of your mammal. I'm just going to show you what Sankaran had to say about the human song. I hope you can all see that. Mine's obscured there by your pictures, actually. Maybe I'll make it smaller and move it across. Can you read that? You can, fine. Okay, herd animals do not have a sense of identity as much as man does. For them, it's simply an issue of security. Me, my possessions, my money, my ego. My name is not so much a problem with the other animals. It's a problem with man. There is a sense of individual identity as well as group identity. That's why we have names and surnames. One is the individual name, the other is the family or group name. The human song is the song that is the nature of the human. He's a social animal and he is a being with his own will and individuality. He wants to blend in, to belong. That blending in, that molding obviously is again analogous to row 3 of the periodic table, and to give to the group. At the same time, he seeks development of the self and progress as an individual. Knowing his ego is temporary, he seeks to find deeper, more permanent truths. Thus, he balances the spiritual searching. So with the humans, you have the analogy here, lac humanum and the lanthanides, with his material desires in a harmonious way, recognizing the reality of both aspects. So he is partly self-seeking and partly selfless. There is a balance between self-interest and social interest. And when this is a problem, lac humanum might be a remedy that you need. A simple way of putting that is people who talk about dependence and independence. Okay, because they realize by nature as a mammal they're dependent, and that is right and proper, and yet equally they want to be independent. So when you have that polarity in your case, that's another case you could think of again. Right, I want to show you a case that reflects this ideally. Okay, I'm gonna, if I can move these up the top or something. Aha. Right. 51-year-old lady, she's actually a doctor. Why are you here? Do I go to a psychiatrist or do I come to you? And she starts crying immediately. I am so angry. I cannot carry on. I cannot function. It's interesting that the word function is used early on. Milks, of course, are sarcodes. They're made from healthy tissue. Sarcodes in your body, each sarcode has a function. Your skull has the function of protecting your brain. Your muscles have the function of contracting. Your Estrogen has the function of making your eggs develop so you can become pregnant. And so function is a sarcode word. Milk is a sarcode. And I haven't for a long time. It's a roller coaster. When I talk to my mum, I am so angry. She wants a birthday party. I have to agree. There has been a drip, drip, drip of negativity all my life. The impact of what she says. Tell me more. She nips at me, and she does a hand gesture like that. Little digs. I have been married for 20 years and had a big struggle with fertility, common. I had miscarriages, but I didn't tell her because the negativity would come out. There is no understanding. I shout inside, I'm not going to say that word because I said it too often last time in radioactive cases, so you can read it. F off. It's not about you. Tell me more. The pressure on me to be a perfect daughter and housewife. My kids are sporty, musical, and able. And she says, are they just learning the one instrument? She's always been like that. It's all about appearance. I feel such a cow, but I hate her. Her death would be a weight off my shoulders. Tell me more. I'm lucky. I have money, kids at private school, yet I am so very unhappy. I feel saying this is indulgent. I don't warrant time and money to fix. It's amazing how many of our patients say that to us when they're talking to us. That doesn't mean they're mammals. Tell me more. I was sent to a cheap boarding school when I was 12 years old. I had the classic RAF dad, all status and rank. I was very driven and wanted more O-levels than anyone. I was proud when I became a doctor, but it was spoiled because mum wanted everyone to know so that she looked like a good mother. I fear my kids will hate me like I hate my mother. So you can see everything in this lady's life, which is a successful and should be a happy life, is seen through the spectrum of the fact that her mother is ruining for her. What is this like? I resent her and I want her to die. I'm so angry at her expectations of me. She has never been there for me. What is this experience like? I am nothing. I am valueless. I need to be loved. There is a rubric, mind delusion is worthless. That's got 2 of our milk remedies in there, but it should have all our milk remedies in there, because the ultimate worthlessness is if you couldn't be loved by your own mother. Okay? And this thing about value, a child should be your precious jewel. Okay, so sometimes it can look like row 5 because you want to shine for your mummy and daddy. And sometimes it could look like a gem. What is love? Someone wants to be with you and give you attention and protection because I'm her daughter, not because I'm a doctor and make loads of money. When I was young, I used to ask my aunt if she was my mother rather than her. This is really common in milk cases. There's somebody down the road who they want to be mother. They spend all the time with granny. They spend whatever. They don't want their mother to be their mother, and they name someone else who they wish would be their mother. What is nothing and valueless? I have to earn any affection. I always take champagne and big bouquets of flowers when I visit the Queen. My special effort is never enough. What is this experience like? So obviously I'm repeating what's the experience like, what the experience like to try to get her out of the human world and into the world of the mammal. I am so tiny, squashed, small, insignificant, valueless. I am nothing. I am a lowlife, worthless. Do you know, at my wedding, she was pissed off because she wasn't the center of attention. I cannot sleep. Okay, so I thought, okay, we're really getting... It's clearly about mum, clearly you're totally valueless. We haven't really hit the sensation yet, though we do have some nonsense, tiny, squashed and small. So, what the hobby should be the opposite of the deep pathology. It's one of the most exciting things to ask in your case. Always do it. It gives the other side of the remedy. So what is your hobby? My home. Baking cakes. It's interesting. I proved fallow deer with the Dynamis school. It's called Dharma Dharma. And everybody went off and made cakes. even when they hated making cakes and actually wanted to go partying. They were annoyed because they were staying at home and making cakes. Cleaning, tidying bedrooms and make it lovely for my family. Such huge pleasure when they are pleased to see me and give me a hug. Tell me more. Being close to the boys, sharing, cooking and eating together. Now, this is obviously again a clue because milk, the breast, is nutrients, okay? And so cooking is going to be important. If they're gardeners, maybe what they're going to like doing is growing vegetables because that's producing stuff. I need them for affection, kissing and hugs. Mummy, 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 they say. What is the experience like? Warm, cuddly, snuggles, cakes on the sofa, cuddles, watch TV on the sofa, chatting and completely sharing. My job, Sarko, is to be available for them. And what is the sensation within yourself at these times? Fulfilled, satisfied, complete, content, relaxed, warm, cushions like a marshmallow surrounded with softness and loveliness. Breastfeeding was great, easy peasy. I did it for 16 months. And that's the moment that you know, bang, you're right in the sensation zone because she's talking about one thing and she spontaneously goes to something else. It's what Janet Snowden calls going global. So now she's assuredly a milk case. And what is the opposite of the experience on the sofa? Cold, alone, threatened, the dark, emptiness. So this is a lack. We just need to know which one. Recurring dreams? Yes, as a child, the stove in the cellar was running out of wood. They had to throw one of us onto the fire to keep it going. So that's how much value you were. You were just to burn to keep the place warm. I was absolutely terrified. I had many other nightmares. Do you like nature? This is a question to ask. You think, okay, this is a mammal case. This is an animal case. So ask about nature. I'll often ask this in cases, not just because they're animals. You say, ask about nature, and plants might go into the beauty and the smell, and they might talk about trees and the experience of being in it. The mineral might say what a great thing it was to do such a long walk in nature, and he managed to see so much. And then the animal, of course, may well start talking about certain animals or say animal expressions. Do you like nature? I love it. A deer came onto our back lawn once with 2 babies. She brought them for me to see. I had a warm feeling like with the boys, which of course she would, because every feeling that we ever have in our lives is one feeling, which is the feeling of the remedy. I am like a lioness, protective, passionate, strong, and I hold everything together at home. I nurture. My passion is like a fire, an explosion. No, much bigger. That's a very important little sentence for me there, because now we're thinking, okay, is this lady a lion? Food desires and aversions. I don't eat meat. I was distraught at a baby goat at the butcher's. I hate bread and butter pudding, all squidgy and soft. Yuck. And that's really interesting because bread and butter pudding would be the perfect thing for a mammal to like. We have the polarity. That's the thing that she hates. Maybe somehow that's because she didn't get the love when she was a child. We don't know, but it's interesting it's there. Physical problems, heavy periods, sleepiness. Remedy, lac humanum. Now, why lac humanum? What I do with these cases is I say, okay, you're a mammal. That's obvious. So which one? Okay, now, are you a lion or are you a mouse? Or are you somewhere in between? Now, except for that moment when she said lioness, this lady did not give me the impression of being a lion. She was not like a lion in my surgery. She was not prowling and powerful and all the sort of things you'd expect to get with the big cats. Equally, she wasn't like a mouse. She just had an issue. She had a huge, huge issue with her mother, and she was blatantly obvious a sensation mammal case. The thing that gave me the clue here is when she said it was about her passion. Her passion is like a fire. Her passion is like an explosion. No, much bigger. Now, what is bigger than an explosion? I happen to know that lac humanum is in that tragic rubric of dreams of atomic explosions. There's only 5 remedies in it: plutonium, nic, ozone. Wheat is in there that's really interesting. Lac humanum. And that's because humankind itself has a radioactive energy. We have the capacity to destroy the entire world. We have altered the entire world. Our energy is radioactive, and therefore that's going to be reflected in the, if you like, the main remedy for humankind, which is human milk. And so I gave lac humanum. I would have given an M if I'd had it. I didn't. How are you? Day 1 was dreadful. Didn't sleep all night. Day 2 felt so terrible. I was extremely thirsty for 3 days, rubbish, fragile and cross. Then I decided to take it easy. I was not constructive. I listened to me. It was weirdly nice to do nothing rather than soldier on all the time. I did little as opposed to doing so much for everyone. How's Mother? She can be irritating, but I'm not overwhelmed. I feel sorry for her. I realize I don't need to be her daughter at her beck and call all the time. What about those feelings you told me about yourself? What were those? You remember, valueless, worthless, low life, and those feelings. Goodness knows, I am shocked to hear those phrases. It's my responsibility to be there for her. She is old. All that stuff about being inferior has become less intense. In fact, it is like it has gone. 2 months later, I was feeling so much better. Then Mum said a bad thing before her 80th birthday party, and bang, all those feelings came back. I had forgotten them. I took another pill, the first since I saw you. The party was a breeze. I was so laid back. This is not how I behave historically. I had no crosswords, no worries, and all was calm. In fact, I felt really good. Mum stayed for 2 days, and I was easy and laid back. I wasn't possessive over the kitchen. That was a revelation. Strangely, Mum made no negative comments. And so the thing is, was Mum ever making negative comments? Was it just her perception? Mum could have said, I love you, darling, and she'd have thought, no, you don't. And Mum could have said, I don't like you. And she'd say, I know that anyway. You see, so it could be that Mum was a totally normal Mum. But the glasses that she was looking for were so tainted with the lac humanum side of things. How's your energy? Good. All that stuff about and blah, blah, blah. So she did really, really well. And I've kept in contact with her, but she has not required another repeat of the remedy. So why did this lady require the remedy? That I don't know. It wasn't clear in the case. But the sort of things that could potentially bring on a lac humanum state in a person, or bring it out, I would believe that we're probably born, we incarnate with the remedy. Normally, I'd say, I don't know this for a fact. But what can bring out to the remedy state very strongly in people who require these remedies might be something simple like the mother has mastitis and unable to breastfeed. Or the mother is fantastically busy, is trying to make money, hasn't got time for the child. Or the mother's alcoholic, or all these things which are going to prevent the bond forming between mother and child. Get that oxytocin love. But oxytocin is a remedy that you could confuse with now. Let's have a. So how is this reflected in the veterinary world? Well, of course, exactly the same way. May 2013, lady brought in a 4-year-old Jack Russell called Charlie, suffering from atopy. Atopy is the curse of dogs in the veterinary world. It is itching and scratching and eczema for often a reason we can't find. It's normally to do with an allergy. Treatment is steroids or chemotherapy or trying to make some sort of vaccine against the allergen. and so many dogs are affected by it. What is very interesting is there's a much higher incidence of atopy in rescue dogs than there is in your average dog, which again shows how the animals are equally affected by the circumstance. Steroids, desensitizing allergen injections, giving monthly, they seem to make Charlie more itchy. He was worse after running through long grass. He was worse in the summer. That's really common. When I touched his back, he quivered all over. His skin was red and he scratched constantly. That is all exactly what you'd expect in this case, and there's no use to homeopath. But this is. Charlie loved the fire, and he lay next to it, although he was panting. So it's a chilly remedy. He enjoys bathing, and it improves his itching, and that's interesting. Good stuff. You could look at generals, bathing ameliorates. He drank huge amounts, 2 or 3 times daily, and sometimes he would be sick afterwards. And that's our first big clue. He drinks so much, so often, he throws up. So he's trying to fill something inside. He loves raw vegetables, fruit, and chilies. Interesting. He's prone to diarrhea. And when he's ill, he wants cuddles and presses himself into me, or he burrows under my arm. Okay? And this is what you'd expect a lack case to want. It's possible they would go for the total opposite. But what makes them feel better is, okay? And therefore, that's what they look for. So I feel as a rubric I use an awful lot in animals and also in children, which is mind clinging children in, okay? And I think every lack should be in that rubric. I have a feeling that there might be only one there, and it's been put in recently, okay? He was born with a right forefoot deformity where the middle 2 toes have a split between them and the first and fourth toe are set higher up the leg and are smaller. That's pretty weird. His litter brother is a true hermaphrodite, and that's really unusual. He was originally wormy and thin and has always been obsessed with food. He will stuff himself and then want more. He tries to suckle at the owner and he needs her. When you've got animal cases, if it's a lack case, they'll often do that because that's obviously what animals do to stimulate the release of the milk. Okay? Common in cats, unusual in dogs. That's almost an SRP for a dog. His character is loving and affectionate. He dominates the Labrador. So this is interesting. So we get an idea of some sort of a hierarchy thing going on here. And he drives her away if he should approach the owner. He is jealous. Now, obviously, when we're talking to our animals, we can't really hear the exact words they say. They're not going to say, I feel like a warm marshmallow. But I look for 4 or 5 things that might suggest animal, which would be 1, just a sense of aliveness. 2, hierarchy. 3, jealousy. 4, potentially excessive sexuality. 5, good ability to communicate. And you can make a judgment, which isn't as clear as it can sometimes be in humans, on which kingdom your veterinary cases come to. Now, he is jealous and he always wants to be included. Well, we know this being included thing is very important for the mammal. I said to the owner, who do you represent to Charlie? And she replied, his mother. He is needy for love. He always likes to have something in his mouth. He loves to sit and sleep on the owner, and he likes to be skin to skin. Now, this skin to skin thing is really, really important to differentiate your mammal cases because they express sympathy, they express affection by skin to skin. I have not had a successful case of a lack prescription in an animal where that animal is not sympathetic and it expresses its sympathy through close touch. Okay, so it might be similar to a phosphorus. Carcinosis and natrum are more a tap on the shoulder. Causticum's more an anger about how could this be happening. But that really feeling it, that's how the mammal expresses the sympathy. And therefore, if I have a case where the person or the animal is not sympathetic and isn't mothering, I would really struggle to give a lac case there. He always likes to have something in his mouth, classic. Yet you'll find in the rubrics, which is gestures, fingers put in mouth, sucking objects, etc., 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 only recently have a couple of lacs been put in there. Of course, all the lacs should be in that rubric. He loves to sit and sleep on the owner, likes to be skin to skin. If the owner is upset, he comes and sits next to her and touches her and puts his head in her lap. Great. He is frightened of fireworks and trembling, but is better for hugging and putting a blanket around him. If he's reprimanded, his ears go back, he walks away, and it looks like he's saying, please don't tell me off. In my consulting room, he wandered about searching for crumbs. He seemed quite confident. I called him, he startled slightly and gave me a cautious wag. He then lay looking away from me and the owner. Okay. Well, this case is a shouting, screaming mammal at us for lots of reasons. The stuffing in the food, the drinking, the sympathy, the skin to skin, the jealousy, the blanket around him, I'm his mummy. You take exactly the language that the owner says and you rely on it, and that works. So now the question is, which mammal do you use? So the question is he a lion? No. He has a cautious wag, okay? Is he a mouse? No. He's not scurrying about and hiding in the corner. So he's somewhere in between. Is he a prey or is he a predator? This is the process that you might have to do for your human cases and for your animal cases if you've got them. So what have we got? Well, what we've got is an SRP. And the SRP I chose was the fact that his brother is a hermaphrodite. Okay? Because that's really, really unusual. And so what I did is I get to my radar program, Opus, and I searched the word hermaphrodite, going through all of the books I've got on the program. It's quite an interesting word to search because you get loads of remedies you've never heard of unless you're smarter than I am, like tuspi, aki, vinca, ustalaga, I know that one, thymus gland, term C, I don't know what that is, suskra, I had no idea what that was. But of course, what I did is I went through and looked at each one of these to see what they were. And I was very delighted to see that suskra is the pig. And then suddenly it all becomes clear because, yes, mammals eat a lot, but he really is a pig, isn't he? But much more than that, there was another very, very strange SRP in this case, where his foot was deformed and his two toes had a split between them, and then the other two toes were here. In other words, he actually had a trotter, not a foot. It was completely bizarre. So, of course, we gave him pig. Interesting things. Pigs have no sweat glands and desire to wallow in water. There's an inherited tendency for sexual abnormalities and hermaphroditism. This is from the proving. Even when my stomach was full, I wanted to go on eating. I would have eaten garbage if it was put in front of me. And I had the idea my foot was split up between my big toe and my other toes. It's a trotter, da. What do we do? Boing. Totally cured, totally fine, never need any more steroids, drugs, etc., etc. Okay? So that's another mammal case. And what I'd like to do is now show you a... What should we do? Yeah, I know what we'll do. I want to show you another human case. I think the best way to get to understand these remedies is just to see cases. 64-year-old lady, stout, short hair, sore throat, but her major fear is the iritis she's had for the last 2 winters. Iritis is really bad news. It's usually an autoimmune thing where you attack the inside of your own eye. As you'll read, it's not a good thing. The last two winters, I've had one illness after another, the worst being iritis, but I get sore throats all the time. I have one now, and cystitis. The throat is so painful. It is like someone sticking something in. Now, that's sort of interesting to start with. She doesn't say it's like there's a pin sticking in. She doesn't say it's like a sticking pain. She says it's like someone is sticking something in. Okay? And that's just a tiny suggestion. You go, ooh, could that mean this is an animal case? Gets worse from autumn till summer. A catarrh develops. I get a really bad cough. It keeps me awake at night. With the iritis, she's on 70 grams of prednisolone a day. What is this like with the iritis, the throat pains that are sticking, and the cystitis? It is horrible. It's like fighting a battle. Aha. Clue number 2, this is an animal case. Other areas, fight battles, row 4 of the periodic table, say we'll fight a battle, but interesting. With the iritis, it feels something is moving behind the eye, like tiny fingers. And I ignore it for 2 days, and then the pain comes. And she does this. It is crushing. I want to drop to the floor and take the eye out. This is a classic thing that animal cases will say. They will swear at their disease. They'll want to cut off their hand to get rid of it. I want to clutch my eye out. Tell me more. It is lowering. Interesting phrase. I want strength to fight it. I can only concentrate on the pain. Tell me about crushing. I want to curl in, be as small as possible, be quiet in the dark. I don't want anyone. I just want the pain to cease. I want to go to the back of the cave. I don't want human beings around. That's a really, you're certain now this is an animal case. Animal patients will often say they don't like human beings. Why would you say that? Why don't you say, I don't want anyone around? Why would you say I don't want human beings around? It's because you perceive yourself in this state to not be a human being. Go away, I shout. I don't want sympathy. I just want the pain to go. It is the center. So this is a mammal case. We know that. It's a mammal day. It's interesting. She doesn't want company and she doesn't want sympathy. Okay? She just wants to curl up in her cave. Tell me more. I fear it coming. I'm not ready for this. I want to be fit to fight, but I'm not. I want to use my whole being to fight. I don't want to exchange a greeting or talk to a human. I want to concentrate 100% on myself and not care about anyone else. Now, this is interesting. Again, where's this caring mammal? I mean, obviously she's on pain, but all she wants to do is concentrate on herself in the cave curled up. I can't get away from it. It's persistent and never stops. I want to pace the room, but that doesn't help. 15 years ago, I had a back operation, and it came 6 weeks later. The pain is like someone sticking in a knife, hard and sharp. I want to tear the eye out because you can't get at it. I feel helpless because I need someone to do it for me, and normally I am capable. But here I am desperate and helpless. So here we have the thing about wanting to be independent, and she's being dependent, and she doesn't like that. Helpless, I feel on my own, isolated because I am averse sympathy. I make my own isolation so I can get rid of it. I am so self-centered there. I don't think about myself, but only of my eye. I concentrate on it. There is a hard object being pushed in. What is your throat like? A very sharp pain, like being cut. Worse for swallowing, swollen, like not much of an opening. I haven't got to grips with it or shaken it off. 2 classic animal phrases. It's like swallowing barbed wire and nothing eases it. It's like sticking a knife in. It's persistent, and the throat pain is similar to the eye pain. Okay, so we sort of know where we are. Let's see what the opposite is. What is the opposite to the state you are in when your throat or eye is bad? I'm relaxed, easy, not tense. You see, my whole body is tense when I have it. When I have it, I become tight, and I want to get within myself and be tight and small as I can. When it goes, I unwind. A coil spring relaxes. It comes from inside and works outward, and I become more fluid as opposed to tense and tight. And I don't fight it anymore. I am buoyant and I desire human company, weird thing to say. Instead of sitting on the arm of the chair clutching, I'm lying back uncomfortable. Dreams, unremembered. Fears, snakes. You will expect your animal remedy to fear things which are dangerous for animals. Now, we know we look at the fear of snake rubric and we'll see representatives from all the kingdoms there. But it's bad. Snakes are bad news if you're a mammal. They're not so bad news if you're a tree. Okay. Hobbies. Now, the hobby here, I love this. Gardening is soothing and relaxing and satisfying. I particularly enjoy growing things to eat. And animals. I've had lots. Dogs are good company, like family or friends. I love to see the wild animals in the countryside when I'm walking with the views. I get a feeling of smells, freedom, independence, and space. And you see amazing things, like a wren chasing a butterfly or a hawk tearing a dove to pieces. And that's a pretty weird thing for this very, very sweet little old lady to say. What's the biggest impact in your life? Family events, the children growing up, happy times, all good. But my daughter married a drinker who came to no good. He challenged for custody of the children, and I was worried he would win. It was a traumatic, and I went off my food. I felt helpless. It was like the eye. Great. That means what she's going to say next is really important. I just wanted to curl up and hide, yet I had to fight for my daughter, and I did. My daughter, when she was 2, had a lump on her leg. They said they would have to amputate. I wished it was me. I went to the hospital and said they couldn't amputate. They said I couldn't stay. It was a terrific battle. I said, I am staying. Matron said I had to go, but I was so determined. I didn't get cross, but no one would put me off. And I found the energy to cope, and I stayed for 2 weeks and felt strong. They didn't amputate. Okay. I don't know whether I can hear you guys, actually. Would anybody like to suggest what it was? Somebody's saying something.
Laccaninum, possibly.
Laccaninum, did you say?
Yeah.
No, not laccaninum. Interesting idea, but the strange thing in this case, what's the strange thing in this case? What does she do? She doesn't want sympathy. She isolates herself and she curls up. And when she's curled up, there's no company, there's no sympathy, there's no nothing. She's like a spring. But when she opens up, then she's not tense anymore. And that's the thing in this case that's different. That's the gesture, and that's the curling up repeated and the tightness curled up. And so bizarrely, it's not proved, the remedy I gave her was erinaceous, which is hedgehog. Because they're hedgehog, those of you who know the remedy chocolate, for instance, chocolate is all about coming together, and chocolate has the sucking of chocolate and that chocolatey feel to it. So chocolate and mammal remedies can be different because the malvalis come together and fuse to be one. And they dream a lot of hedgehogs. The urban myth told by Jeremy Sher, which I'm sure is not a myth at all, but is totally true, is that the fact that the hedgehog is a fantastically good mother. And then when it's weaning time, she just curls up into her ball and the babies just get the spikes and they have to leave like immediately. They're thrown out. They're separated. They're finished. And so the hedgehog, when it's curled up, which is its safe place to be, is utterly unapproachable. And therefore that explains, one, the curling up and the tightness. And two, it explains the fact that she doesn't want sympathy in this sort of thing because you can't give sympathy to something that's curled up. And three, what is really lovely in the case is that the iritis and the throat pains and the cystitis were all sticking pains. Okay? So it's just one of those cases, you don't get them very often, which was just perfect. And basically, she was cured. Never had iritis again. About 4 or 5 years later, she came back to me with a different problem. whereby actually she had no freedom because her husband had retired and was following her around all the time when she was feeling like she had something physical. I can't remember what it was. But she expressed the whole state totally differently. And in fact, she expressed it as being tight, 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 tight and held in. And what she wanted to do was expand and be free. And there was no me versus you, even though it was the husband that was like causing it, but that's not how she expressed it. And the remedy I gave her was cactus, which was massively effective. But it was so weird that she had the prickly mammal and then she had the prickly plant. Now, we've got about 15 minutes. Would you like human or animal, I wonder? Let's see if we can do a quick human and a quick animal. Yeah, do a quick animal. This is a cat in a vet, okay? And you can see it sitting on the arm.
Mind if I video a bit?
You can hear me talking to the lady. It's sitting on the arm of the chair in my veterinary surgery. Now, is this cat a mouse?
Just describe again the sort of the...
You have to just use your gut feelings with people and with animals. But the feeling that I get here is relaxed,
does the dog realise
disdainful, powerful.
So what does the
It's
dog
owning my surgery. It's just like, okay. And a little bit later, he goes for a wander and just sits and looks out the window. Here's the story. And it expresses something which we've mentioned before, which is really important. Lou, 10 years old, multiple allergies causing his face to itch, swell and ulcerate. And that's why he came to see me. That was actually a video of a follow-up after his remedy where there was still a bit of problems on his face. It was an autoimmune condition. This was chronic and to such a degree that his swollen cheeks caused his eyelids to turn in, requiring an operation where they had to pull his eyelids out again. 2 years previously, they'd made an autogenous vaccine against his allergies, but they had actually affected him badly, blowing him up even more. Previous to this, he'd had a lot of bladder problems. He was given steroid treatment for his bladder, and then lo and behold, he gets this really nasty skin condition. He has a tumor on his ear flap. Okay, in my surgery, he strolled out of his box. He didn't slink, he didn't scurry, he strolled, betraying no signs of nervousness. He came to say hello to me, explored the room, jumped up onto the window and peered out for a while before settling on the arm of my chair as if he owned the place. He likes getting in strangers' cars or lorries and going off for a ride with the unsuspecting occupant. And they'll suddenly look round and they've gone 10 miles and there he is, just like hello. He hates dogs and will, in the words of the owner, attack ferociously, chasing them up the road and jumping onto their backs, clinging on and repeatedly tearing at them. He puffs up like a balloon and throws himself at them. His eyes go wild and he attacks, and it is difficult to get him off because he won't let go. He has no fear. That is SRP. He's averse fuss or being picked up, not on his own terms. And sometimes when you're stroking him, he changes from loving behavior to attacking and biting your hand and clinging on. He is very restless and paces like a caged animal. He's terrible about eating and wanders off, but he likes rubbish food like poppadoms and spicy sauces, olive oils and herbs. He's always been aggressive, particularly against men, and attacked the last vet badly. So at this moment, it looks like we've got an animal remedy. And what is it? You know, scorpion or some black mamba or praying mantis or shark. We don't know. Okay, but it looks like it's going to be an animal, a very confident and dangerous animal. He's he has a soft bed and he constantly kneads and sucks it, and has always done this. Now that's really interesting, but he's a cat and some cats do that. He is a loner and has no cat friends except for one large uncastrated male who he hangs out with. When he was rehomed, he didn't go on the floor for 2 years, but jumped from one article of furniture to the other. He still won't eat on the floor. He lies in wait behind doors and jumps out and chases other cats. That's interesting because that is what you might expect as snake energy. They attack from ambush, and so for that sudden attack from the side or from behind could be a snake energy. He's aggravated and thumps his tail onto the ground, but he is very sympathetic. And if the owner is poorly, he comes up and nudges her and licks her and isn't aggressive. And this is the great thing in the case, because even the most fearful mammal is sympathetic. He is jealous and pushes the other cats out of the receiving attention. The owner said he is possessed by demons, a jackal or a wild dog or a wolf. So, I have seen this behavior in my consulting room before, where these animals just come in and they wander about and they own the place, and they usually sit up high. Sometimes they sit in my sink, which is over there behind me. Sometimes they sit looking out the window, and they just have total confidence. And now I have a shorthand for that. I just write Leo. But that doesn't mean it's like Leoninum. It could mean they're Gold Series. It could mean they're Lanthanide. It could potentially mean they're a powerful plant like Nux vomica, or obviously it means they could be like Leoninum. I have got a number of like Leoninum cases in cats. It seems to be quite a common remedy. And so I gave like Leoninum. Now, in fact, what happened with the lac leoninum is it helped, but after 4 weeks, the problem began to come back a little bit, and he did something strange. I'll be a bit quick. Lac leoninum. But he increased the sucking of his blanket and all that business. And at that time, I'd been lucky enough to go and see Jonathan Hardy teaching the mammals. And I realized that this guy wasn't a lion, he was a tiger. Okay? And it's also quite nice because, like I said earlier, it's tiger's urine, which is the remedy that you use. And this guy's problem started off with a bladder problem. So that was a nice thing. What's the difference between the two? Look at the Jungle Book versus the Lion King. Okay? Lac Leo, jolly good, lovely king. Okay? Chasing across the plains, doing all the bits and bobs that lions do, and the tiger is very angry because the lion isn't the king. The tiger is far more beautiful, is much bigger, much more powerful, but nobody calls the tiger the king. So the tiger is angry, the tiger is deceived, the tiger is cheated, and also the tiger lies in wait at waterholes and attacks from ambush. So I gave tiger to the cat, and basically the cat was totally sorted out. I saw Jonathan present a human tiger case. I don't have a human tiger case of my own. And it was a man who was a very, very powerful guy, and he swore a lot. And he did something like take very rich businessmen out into the wilds and teach them how to team build or something like that. And he had two specific gestures. One was, anything that gets in my way, I will swear. And the other gesture he had was bringing down his very, very large paw onto the ground like that. And you think, oh my God, who is that guy? But the clue was he'd brought his son with him. And as he was telling you all the terrible things that he did to people, he had his son on his knee, and he was giving his son a cuddle, and his son was running about, and he was a tiger case. Okay. Right. We've got time for one more. If you'd like one more, that's what we'll do. I've even got a lac tiger bunny, by the way. You wouldn't believe it. Gosh, let's do a human. 61-year-old, very chatty, talking nonsense, arthritis all over the place. What are you here for? I have lumpy fingers, and my mum didn't have that. Huh. Who cares what your mum said? Why do you mention your mum in the first line? I have carpal tunnel syndrome in both hands, and my sister didn't have that. Okay. The pain comes in spasms. I might not have it for 10 days. I wake up with stiffness in my thumbs and tendinitis in both my shoulders. Keeps me awake. I'm crumpling with age. Hand gesture. Ooh, crumpling with age. That sounds a bit more minerally, doesn't it? What is the pain like? It is a discomfort and throbs, and it's worse with pressing on it. I love tomatoes and I eat them like sweets. Not a good thing to do when you've got arthritis. Tell me about the pains. It is like someone slicing with a knife. It is throbbing. I'm not worried about it because it's just there and I need to live with it. I just want to relieve it. It is like a knife gnawing into my bone. It is annoying and I want relief. But I don't want to take all that doctor's stuff just for fingers. It's interesting, a little clue of miasm here. I'm not worried about it because it's just there. I need to live with it. It's annoying, looking possibly like psychotic, potentially malarial. Wait and see how it goes. Tell me about the tendinitis. I can feel it going down my arm. It plays up in the evening. It's much worse to sleep on it. It is a shooting pain. It has caught me again. It is a sharp dig. It catches me unawares, like a surprise, looking fairly malarial. It's a bloody pain in the back, the initial shock. What else is there? I have arthritis in the knee. It clicks when I walk. I try not to think about it. What is this experience like for you? I'm fed up, but I've come to accept it. Psychosis. I try to stay positive and healthy. I don't like to talk about it, and I keep it to myself. Psychosis. It is inconvenient, so I get outside and forget about it. Psychosis. Originally, it was said that all the milk remedies were psychotic. This isn't the case. Lacleoninum is syphilitic. Laclupinum, some people say, is leprous. Lacaquinum is cancer miasm. But initially, it was thought that maybe they're all going to be psychotic. My sheep keep me going. I wrapped myself in cotton wool, hand gesture, before lambing, so I am fit for it. Tell me more. I never had kids, and my sheep are my babies. I hate leaving them. I cuddled a sheep when I was 4 years old, and I've always wanted one since. I had some cats, but I'm not a doggy person. I love my sheep. They are my pets. I would hate them to be rustled, in other words, stolen. What would it be like if they were rustled? It would be the not knowing if they were okay. They are mine, and I love them as mine. I look after them, and they give me back love too. They are all individuals. What is this like? Satisfaction, pleasure, contentment. I see to them and check they are okay. One day they'll have to go, and I wonder how will I react? Would I prefer them to be killed, because would another person look after them like I did? I'm so attached to them. I had 2 miscarriages in my previous marriage, and my parents are not alive. And they never knew that I would have sheep and see how happy and content I am. My first husband was away a lot, and then he just said, I'm leaving you. I felt abandoned and rejected, common for all milks. I was hurt and angry and lonely, but I have support from friends in my town. I felt enclosed and shut myself away. I had to try and stand on my own 2 feet. So she was abandoned and rejected, and the issue is now she's not in the family, the pack, the herd. She has to try and stand on her own 2 feet. So there's also a similarity with row 2 of the periodic table, isn't it? What's it like being on your own? Hard, never done it, standing on my own 2 feet. I had to be independent and not rely on others. And I was afraid, but I proved I could do it. I have low self-esteem. I've always felt rejected. No one wanted me. There's something not right about me. I am unwanted and unloved. I always felt I'd done something wrong. She loves dairy, is not thirsty. She has no dream she remembers. I took the case I did a bit of repertorization, and it wasn't a total sin. I gave Nature Mule. 6 weeks later, she comes up. She's dressed all in white with pink socks. How are you? My fingers have been much better, and my thumbs. My shoulder pain comes intermittently, like I could be just sitting at home watching TV and the pain comes. How do you feel yourself? I feel better. However, I am not more confident about myself and think maybe I'm a born pessimist. My knee pains come and go. How does this feel? So obviously the Nature Mule has helped her to a degree. Not surprising. I talked about the similarity of row 3, muriaticum, the mother, to the lax. And also, she's not a confident lax. She's not a lion, is she? How does the pain feel? Like being squeezed really hard. Shut up, pain. This is interesting because the Nature Mule didn't just do something for her. It's going to bring her state out much stronger, which happens, not infrequently in homeopathy. When you give a close remedy and good stuff happens. Tell me about being squeezed hard. It is pushed in, squeezed very, very tight. Oh gosh, it's woken me up again. Oh God. So we're beginning to get a personification of the disease. I feel bruised and I'm angry that it has woken me. It's like there are little men in there digging at it. Now you can see how things have changed. Suddenly it's become much more clearly animal. Suddenly the pain comes and upsets me again. It's trying to tell me to stop enjoying my lifestyle. So now the pain is personified. My sister says the same thing. Buy a flat and get rid of those sheep. I want to tell them to shut up. I like my lifestyle. Why should they tell me how to live? It's not their business. Tell me more about this. They are intruding into what I enjoy, which is annoying. I want to prove I can do it, and I will show them I can. I want to be more positive. No one will tell me what to do. So you can hear how the language has changed to become more animal. And again, we've got this thing whereby the issue for her is that she's left the pack, the herd, whatever it is, and she has to stand up for herself. But obviously she's talking about a lot, so this is an issue for her. So she is a pack or a herd or something like that. Mammal. Tell me about little men. They are intruding into my lifestyle. I dislike them. What sort of people are they? They are selfish and jealous, and they would like to do it themselves. I have got to do something they would like. They are not friendly and they are nasty because they hurt me. And sometimes when I'm searching for a remedy, I ask a direct question, but I ask something where I know what I ask is nothing at all like what the woman's talking about. So I said, are they like an eagle or a bacteria? No, I don't know. I am choked off with being told what to do. I am put out. It's really upsetting. I feel angry and rebellious. I will rebel against these buggers. How dare they? This is very strong malarial here, obviously, so that's psychosis with the acute. What is the feeling like inside? It is an emptiness. What is going on in their life that they have to treat me like this? Are they worthy themselves? Do they need to become more confident? What happened in their past lives that they lost their confidence? What would be the opposite to that? Lots of self-confidence. I will feel good and happy, and that would feel like being with someone I love, with children. I would feel secure. It would be warm, content, like cuddling up to a hot water bath. And now we can see the whole thing's coming together nicely. And so we just have to decide what we're going to give. And it's not lion, and it's not mouse. It's a herd animal. She arrived dressed all in white. What's her favorite thing in the world? Sheep. Lac ovinum. Okay? And what's nice about lac ovinum, if you look at Massimo's work on lacs, it's huge for rheumatoid and arthritis. Okay? So it fitted really nicely with the pathology as well as with the whole state. The pain is controlled much more. It is less evil. It is like angels making the pain instead of those nasty men. My shoulders are fine with occasional pain on the right-hand side. How are your fingers? Oh, they are completely fine. I'm so pleased. How do you feel yourself? I feel fine. Those last 3 pills were like wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. I had 3 days of intense pain and then the pain began to disappear. It went fairly gradually. Boom, boom, boom. She is a very happy bunny. Maybe I should have given a bunny, but actually the sheep did the job. I've got lots more cases, but we're sort of out of time. It would be nice to do, if anybody had any questions or anything. I don't know whether I can hear you. I think I possibly can. If anybody has a question they'd particularly like to ask, which they think is pertinent, then shout it out. Otherwise, we might call. Yes. No, I can't hear you, unfortunately.
Oh, I'm in mute.
Oh, yes, I can. Go on.
That was great. Thank you. Just quickly, do you see that, say, that language change in a client from, say, one session to another? Because she did well on the NAPMUR.
Yeah, she did well-ish on the NAPMUR. And yes, I do. I've got a number of cases whereby giving a close remedy will then suddenly bring out dreams which are really relevant, or the language changes. It's like the close remedy stimulates the language to change, but also symptoms to come out. This is, Kent said this, Jeremy really stresses it, that when you give a remedy, if it's a close remedy, it's the changes are the thing that are the most important. And the most obvious thing in that case was the change in her language. Therefore, that was really important. But any new symptom that comes out, they could include changes in language. And in fact, it does. I've seen this a number of times. That's where you really concentrate. I've no idea how it works, but it's like a close remedy brings it out. And lack of vinum, you could imagine, is very like NatureMUR, because NatureMUR is column 1 of row 3. In other words, it has no identity at all. And what do we say about people who have got no identity? They're just a load of sheep. Okay, so that whole energy stuff. And any other questions? Cool. Well, thank you very much for coming. Have a good day, and see you next time.
Thank you.